still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
but
about
as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive.
Nancy Mace aside, and her going off the deep end, and I've had this exact conversation with people, right? You're trying to shame me because of my political choices. I'm a political victim. Besides that whole thing, George Snuffleupagus, wherever you say his last name, right there, ABC was getting sued because he said that Trump had raped E. Jean Carroll. And ABC News, in this era of mainstream media, followed the footsteps of Morning Joe, right? Joe Scarborough, these two heroes right here. And they decided access to Trump during this next administration. Access to ratings was more important than any kind of real journalism or, integrity.
Trump is the new Adolf.
Welcome to the Chud Report. I'm your host, MJ. You end up liking this episode. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into it. The mainstream media. George Snuffleupagus. It's actually an insult to the actual Snuffleupagus, because the real Snuffleupagus had journalistic integrity. He would have held Nancy Mace, he would have held her to account on his show. That's her. That's Oscar's crazy sister and co-conspirator with Big Bird and Bird's plan to install a Christo-fascist Sesame Street. The resemblance is uncanny. Told Nancy. Snuffy would have given up access to get to the bottom of what's going on Sesame Street. Snuffy would have pissed on the ratings. He wouldn't have stopped investigating until he watched that bird fry for his crimes. But old Joe Scarborough, Mika will inherit the earth. In order to preserve their journalistic integrity, this is actually what they told their audience. In order for them to maintain their journalistic integrity, they had to go down to Mar-a-Lago, kiss the ring, roll some of that footage. Oh wait, they didn't take cameras with them. Okay, let's listen to some of the audio they recorded. Oh wait, they didn't take any audio recorders with them. Can we at least read? Did they at least take a pen and paper to write down what they talked with? To preserve their journalistic integrity? Can we at least read it? They didn't take a pen and paper with them. What Joe Scarborough and what Mika, whatever, took down to Mar-a-Lago was knee pads. So we don't even know if Mika's face was still bleeding this time. We have no way to confirm. There is zero chance. There is negative chance Trump would have ever won this lawsuit against ABC. For starters, the judge in the case clarified that Donald Trump did in fact rape Eugene Carroll, compounded by Trump being scheduled for a deposition. And we all know how he does in these depositions, right?
This is the former president of the United States answering questions in a deposition about a rape he insists he never committed, saying of his accuser, Eugene Carroll, "She's not my type."
I take it, sir, that you stand by that statement today?
Yes, I do.
Donald Trump shown this photo the moment he met Carroll in the late 1980s.
You have in front of you a black and white photograph that we've marked as DJT-23.
When asked to identify the woman in the picture, Trump mistakes Carroll for his ex-wife, Marla Maples.
It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah. That's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No, that's
here.
Carol.
Oh, is that,
okay. That's the deposition they had lined up. That's what they had to escape from. The guy who couldn't even tell the difference. First off, he said, I'm not going to relitigate this. This isn't an E.G. Carroll. I just want to talk about what ABC had, their slam dunk case. Donald Trump's main defense was, I didn't rape her because she wasn't my type. If she was my type, I would have raped her. That was literally his defense, right? And in this deposition, this is what ABC was scared of, a deposition against them. He identifies the victim, E. Jean Carroll, and says, that's his wife, not my type. ABC, like the other networks, knew this, right? This lawsuit, this $15 million to the Trump library, like any of these juds are going to a library. The $15 million is about access. It's about securing their ratings. This is a smaller channel. We lost like over 500 subscribers since the election. Maybe we lost more since then. But my lesson from that, MSNBC lost 50% of their viewership. So they freaked out, right? But my lesson from that was not to change my entire ideology, not to change this entire channel to audience chase, to try to wrap up, them over there. It's not for me to cater to you all. And that's why you love it, I think. I'd rather not even do this anymore than try to, change it up, to try to be phony about it. And I don't think this audience, these people that are here would respect me for it. Like if you went back 2 or 3 years and I was a completely different person, talking about completely different things, I don't think you would respect me for that. I'm saying this because I'm a YouTube channel, right? I'm a YouTube channel. And I have more of a sense of responsibility about what I talk about, more of a sense of responsibility of the fourth estate than these major news organizations. Integrity left in ABC's news department. They'd be like, all right, we'll offer a retraction, right? We retract. It wasn't a rape, and here's why. Here's what the jury ruled on. He forcibly penetrated a woman. And because of his condition, right? Because of his condition, she didn't know if it was his finger or his penis. And every time we talk about it on the channel, from here out on forth, that's what you repeat. We couldn't call it a rape because the victim didn't know if it was his finger or his tiny penis. Is that better? Is that better? I think that's better. But that would get you cut off from access during this next presidency. Donald isn't in yet, is packing such little heat, right? That his victims don't even know if it's his penis or if it's his pinky finger, maybe even his small toe, right? I mean, for a rapist, it's the perfect crime. Staffers at ABC News say it's frightening. It's frightening what's happening. It's not frightening. It's disgusting, right? To bend the knee, to kiss the ring, to eat the full of fascists is not frightening. It's disgusting. A staffer at ABC said, my fear is this sets a tone for the next 4 years. And the tone is, do not upset the president. Right? Wow. Excellent insight, staffer. If only you were in a role where you could echo those concerns. The point of journalism at its core. Well, here, I'm not going to explain it. I'll let Lauren Boebert explain it. Not the Lauren Boebert you know, but the Prequel Edition.
I don't want Americans to be kind of disappointed and not believing in our media, because you guys are a foundation of our democracy. We want to believe in you.
You guys are a foundation of our democracy. We want to believe in you. From Boebert's mom right there. And it's gotten so bad that when people like Joe and Miga, they try to spin it clumsily, nobody believes them, that they're actually doing truth to power. It put me in a spot where I agree on this single issue with another woman who Trump said was bleeding from somewhere.
As for us, we also let him know that we will continue to speak truth to power and push back hard when called for. Oh, please. As we have with all presidents.
Don't be mistaken. We're not here to defend or normalize Donald Trump. We're here to report on him.
I searched for a way to respond appropriately, and I called on my 10 years as a litigator in addition to my now 20 as a journalist, and I think I found the perfect phrase: go yourselves. Go yourselves, you dishonest jokes of faux journalists. What an absurd farce that was, Glenn.
What an absurd farce, Glenn! When these two brain-dead sacks of trash, one of those sacks of trash being filled to its brim with borscht, when those two call you out, when they recognize the game you're playing, Joe and Mika, ABC, when they recognize it because they invented it. Megan, that's Megan, not Megan. Megan. Don't call me Megan. She leans back on her, what she said, 20 years of journalism. I've been in journalism 20 years. You know, the tough issues she tackled in the past, like this.
What is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like, back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character. There was a controversy on The Real Housewives of New York with Luann, as she dressed as Diana Ross. And she made her skin look darker than it really is. And people said that that was racist. And I don't know, I thought, like, who doesn't love Diana Ross? She wants to look like Diana Ross for one day.
20 years.
I don't know how, like, that got racist on Halloween.
Megan Kelly, in addition to 20 years as a journalist, the state of our press, the state of the lamestream media, it has me agreeing with Nayland Palin here. It has me agreeing with Ozempic face here. Yeah, I agree. Joe and Micah, you can go fuck yourselves. This channel, even in its infancy, even when we started out with Chad, right? This channel warned about this exact stuff. A kleptocracy, an oligarchy, controlling the media, controlling the narratives.
Congressional leaders had lined up on Tuesday to approve a spending bill that would avert a shutdown. But a 5-word social media post by an unelected South African native turned Washington upside down for 4 days. This bill should not pass, declared the world's richest man, Elon Musk, on the social media platform he owns. Well, he seems to also own Congress and the incoming Trump administration at this point, because that post began a process that brought the U.S. government to the very brink of a shutdown. In the 12 hours after that post, he made more than 60 new posts, many filled with misinformation, that forced the bill to be scrapped. And he included a threat. Any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. Now, this incident has raised a serious question about the Republican Party and Trump's next term in office.
Listen to him. This has raised a serious question about the Republican Party and Trump's next term in office. It looks like we're going to get some serious journalism here. Just the build-up here, right? An unelected oligarch is threatening elected officials that if they tamper with the tax money that he's planning on taking when he gets in there, don't you tamper with it. I want to be the world's first trillionaire. If that means cutting cancer research for kids, that's what I want. Don't you tamper with it. Unelected oligarch. And since it sounds like this is concerning to MSNBC, maybe they could talk about how on that same day he was tweeting that out, he also tweeted out his support for the neo-Nazi party in Germany. What could go wrong? This has raised a serious question about not only the Republican Party, but Trump's next term in office. This is the setup about what you're going to get. So maybe, I guess, whoever this guy is, A-Man, I don't know who he is, MSNBC. Maybe they'll point out that no matter what happens at this point, it doesn't matter what happens at this point. Elon Musk, they already own J.D. Vance. They already own the VP of the United States. Trump was simply a finger or a micro penis, if you want, to digitally penetrate the morons in this country. I'm sure MSNBC will have that insight. I'm sure MSNBC will have. That was actually a really good metaphor by me. A nice metaphor throwback. Digitally penetrated the morons. It's pretty good. If I was to subscribe to this channel at this point, I would do it on that line alone. I'm sure MSNBC put it in context, explained it.
Incident has raised a serious question about the Republican Party and Trump's next term in office. Who's actually in charge here? Donald Trump?
Who's actually in charge here? And if you've turned on the TV, if you've read anything, MSNBC, CNN, Huffington Post, the most important voice in the Democratic Party right now, Mary Trump. She's named herself Mary Media or whatever. Give me a break. If you've listened to any of them, this right here this is what they think is the major story going on. Dems troll Trump by calling Elon the real president. The pieces are in place for 1938. They are. I mean, if you watch this channel, you already know that. But all the lamestream media wants to talk about, Bobart's mom called the lamestream media. I agree. All they want to talk about is some Apprentice-style reality TV where Trump's going to fire Elon, right? On stage, publicly. When the actual story is, it doesn't matter if he fires Elon. It doesn't matter if they have a spat. It's over. But that story takes time to tell. That story takes commitment from, I guess, an engaged audience to want to learn about. That story takes context. This story doesn't take anything. These morons have been watching Trump for 20 years fire people on TV. So they can just plug this right in. Like it's just another card that they can plug into their head. They already know this story. They know how it ends. They can feel like they're engaged in it.
Scene around him, almost like he's a Batman villain. I don't get it.
The true story should be here. The absolute above and beyond Call of Duty of law enforcement to be able to track down a grainy security video and a water bottle with a thumbprint on it and be able to track this guy down, and in just a couple of weeks he's being returned back to the city that he committed this murder in. And look, anything to justify this with health care and everything.
I agree actually with the first part of what he said. This country should be asking questions about how they caught him with this amount of evidence, right? When a CEO gets killed. How it was that easy to find him. I agree with the first part of what he said. But all the major news stations, what you call mainstream media, they're all bought by billionaires. They all sit at this oligarch table. They all know each other. There are over 21,000 homicides in this country every year. I think it's actually going up again. I think it was 23,000 this last year. There are over 23,000 homicides in this country each year. And many of them have been or are coming to classrooms near you. The federal government, I mean, look at this picture. Look at this picture. They're trying to make him not look cool. It's not working. This looks like, what was that show? SWAT. Remember with SWAT with Colin Farrell? I don't know if you've seen it. It's old now. But the guy yells out. They're carrying him like this. He's like, I'll give $1 million to anyone who saves me. That's what this looks like. Overkill? I would say so. At its core, I don't want us to lose sight of what this is. At its core, this was a premeditated murder. One person was shot. It was premeditated in New York City. The federal government stepped in to make this a terrorist attack. That's right. Right? So they could bring their own charges against him because New York City doesn't have the death penalty. But if he's federally charged and old Trump's coming in, the face of the oligarch party, he's going to decide to execute Luigi here. Like I said, this is a murder of one person. Why not let it play out in New York? Why? Well, because the insurance companies who give millions of dollars to political parties on both sides. I don't like saying both sides all the time, but this is definitely a both sides issue. They give millions of dollars to both sides. Well, they leaned on the DOJ to make an example of him, to bring him out to do this with 100 people behind him with M16s. The guy on CNN said it's unprecedented how they found him. That's not for CNN. That's not for any kind of journalistic thing. He doesn't go into how they did it. That would be called journalism. That's to warn you. That's to play into, what the insurance companies leaned on them to do. What the insurance companies are probably paying him to do. They're trying to scare you with this guy. It's unprecedented what happened. It's unprecedented. It's so unprecedented, it happens 23,000 times a year. Daniel Perry in Texas texted his friend. He said, I'm going to kill a BLM, a Black Lives Matter protester tonight. That's premeditated. Perry went on to shoot and kill Garrett Foster. And this is the important part of this story. Perry was found guilty in a Texas courtroom, right? This isn't Seattle. This is in a Texas hard justice. Texas Walker Ranger. 12 of his peers found him guilty in Texas, and he was sentenced to 25 years in prison. His victim, Garrett Foster, was not part of the oligarch class. You know what I mean? They weren't going off a single thumbprint, a ton of AI videos, face scanning that they don't want to tell you about. I mean, that's the true story, but they don't want you to know that they have that. Garrett Foster was not a cog in a system of exploitation like the healthcare CEO. Garrett Foster was simply married to a black woman. And because he was married to a black woman and feared for her safety, he was at a protest. That's the only thing he was there for. I'm going to kill a BLM protester tonight. Text message. Premeditated. And you want to talk about unprecedented, right? The only perp walk Daniel Perry received was from the cops to the front of the prison to let him go and shake his hand because he was given a full pardon by this guy, Greg Abbott, not a stand-up guy. And the line the shill on CNN is using about, Brian Thompson was just a great guy. He worked all his life to get there and he was robbed. He was robbed. I never go on LinkedIn. Feels like Facebook with extra steps. But all the people I know that are CEOs, and even people I don't know that are CEOs, they're all posting this same propaganda line. Don't forget he was a family man, and he deserved to get to that spot where he could make ungodly money by denying people health care. The ruling party never came out with these long blurbs like that for Garrett Foster. Right? Exact same crime. Exact same crime. Premeditated. 2 different victims. And a fourth estate that has decided if you take a stand against these people, if you take a stand against the oligarchs, then they will Greg Abbott you. The Chud Report. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I hope you have a good Kwanzaa. I hope you have a good Hanukkah. And thank you for watching. And thanks to all those people that have stuck around on this channel. I know we'll get back on our feet. People will start coming back to it. And I understand it. I'm not going to change up the format. I'm not going to flip to a chud and go audience chasing. I'm here. I'm here till the end, which may be sooner than we want. But thank you for being here. I hope you get everything you want from Santa. And that's all I got for you. The Chud Report.
But this BS coming from the lamestream media lately about us inciting violence.